Dr. Grandin, that was a great presentation this morning.
Oh, thank you.
Can you tell us in a nutshell how the Australian feedlots measure up in terms of animal welfare?
I was very pleased. I went to 4 feed yards just earlier this week. They're beautiful feed yards. We had a chance to handle some cattle. These feed yards are very impressive.
In our dealings with cattle, do we tend to overlook some minor points that actually are really important?
There are still minor points. I went over all the cattle handling facilities. People are putting in these gates now that operate with air pressure. And one of the feed yards, the noise silencing devices were broken, and it is very noisy compared to the brand new one that we're going to demonstrate with here. There was one squeeze chute that was squeezing cattle way too hard. People need to be careful about that. When it comes to handling techniques, bringing up small groups, learning how to use following behavior, that was really good, because when I teach the class, I'm going to get some definite things I'm going to recommend. Fill the crowding pen or the tub that leads to the single file half full. Use following. Wait until there's space in the single file race, so when you bring those cattle in, they can go on around the bend and up the race. When you lay out tubs, it's really important that it be a full half circle. Take advantage of the natural tendency to go back to where they come from. Also, I'm going to emphasize measuring handling. You manage the things that you measure. I want cattle walking into the squeeze chute. I want them walking out. You can measure how many times electric jiggers got used. Cattle vocalizing in the squeeze chute. If they moo right when you put the head gate on or the squeeze, you're hurting them. They should not moo when you catch them. You can also measure falling, because the thing is, if you don't measure handling, then it has a tendency to go back bad again. We need to be measuring it.
And if we go back one step further, how important are things like backgrounding and preconditioning and getting cattle used to being handled?
Oh, backgrounding is really important. We have a lot of cattle now where they're contracted and the calves are backgrounded beautifully, pre-weaned, pre-vaccinated. We still have too many cattle coming into the feed yards, bawling babies with no vaccines, no preconditioning. And the reason why that happens is when cattle supplies get tight, you know, they got to fill up the feed yards, and so there's less, they'll take those, less good cattle. You know, if a rancher gets the same price for cattle weaned on the truck as he gets for preconditioned cattle, he's not going to bother to precondition them. And that's what happens when cattle supplies get very tight. And due to the drought, very bad droughts in the United States, it's made for tight cattle supplies. But everybody agrees that pre-vaccination of cattle and pre-weaning 45 days before they're shipped helps greatly to reduce sickness and health problems.